My name is Zsuzsanna Benyó, and the title of my PhD thesis is Human Adaptation to Spaceflight. Why exactly this topic? Because by the year 2030, the number of space travelers will reach more than 40,000. My name is Zsuzsanna Benyó. I am a dietitian graduated in Semmelweis University, but I also studied space medicine and space policy. I'm glad that my supervisors are in charge of the Hungarian human spaceflight program. Our joint vision is to achieve healthy longevity in space and on Earth. Therefore, we agreed on a mission to establish the Hungarian Translational Research Institute for Space Healthcare. We have two specific goals. The first one is preparing a systematic review and meta-analysis. The title is The Effect of Bisphosphonates in the Prevention of Bone Loss During Spaceflight and Bed Rest Studies. Why exactly this question? Because bone loss is one of the biggest risks among spaceflight-induced diseases. If you go to space, you lose at least 1 to 2% of your bone mass per month, which is 12 times higher than here on Earth. Moreover, it might cause also other diseases, trigger other symptoms. Therefore, our aim is to investigate whether bisphosphonates, which is already used here successfully here on Earth, can prevent bone loss and other spaceflight-induced disorders in astronauts. The clinical question is, can bisphosphonates effectively mitigate bone loss under spaceflight conditions or prolonged immobility, in these cases mainly in bed rest studies? We agreed on a PICO framework with two P's. One of them is humans in space, the other one is humans in altered gravity models, like the so-called bed rest. The intervention was in all of the cases bisphosphonates, while we always compared the intervention group with the control group where they didn't receive any bisphosphonate treatment. And the outcome was related to bone loss. We hypothesized that bisphosphonates are effective countermeasures to minimize bone loss in humans induced by spaceflight or microgravity models, bed rest studies. Our clinical implications is that bisphosphonate could be considered and included in the guideline in case of long-term spaceflights and bed rest, or at least that was our plan. Based on our systematic search, we found almost 17,000 articles with these keywords. It was intentional that we didn't include bisphosphonates or any synonyms of bisphosphonates in order to find all relevant cuttings and not to miss anything important. As part of the selection process, we found 16 eligible full-text articles. These are the outcomes that we are examining. The first one is bone mineral density. There are two types of bone mineral density that we are analyzing. The one of them is related to femoral neck, the other one is in the lumbar spine. And as you can see here on the first plot, the group which used bisphosphonate or received bisphosphonate treatment had better results in terms of bone mineral density, while the control group, which didn't receive any bisphosphonate treatment, experienced a sharp decrease of bone mineral density parameters. So as you can see, especially if we talk about the lumbar spine plot, it proved that bisphosphonate was successful in preventing bone loss among astronauts or people staying for a long duration bed rest. The other key parameter that we examined was bone-specific alkaline phosphatase and alkaline phosphatase. Here, the result, the standardized mean difference amounted minus 0.59, which means, in this case, this was also in favor of bisphosphonates, and it was even statistically significant because 0 was not included in the confidence interval. Bone-specific alkaline phosphatase and also alkaline phosphatase means that bisphosphonate suppresses, decreases bone turnover, and therefore helps counteract excessive bone resorption, which is otherwise experienced in microgravity conditions. In terms of hormones, we didn't experience any difference, so this is statistically not significant, not clinically, not statistically a significant change in terms of parathyroid hormone. This result is very important for us. Collagens N-terminal talopeptide and C-terminal talopeptide showed a decrease in the bisphosphonate treated group, while the control group, which didn't receive any bisphosphonate, experienced an increase in terms of these key outcome parameters. These outcome parameters reflect suppressed bone resorption markers essential for minimizing bone loss in these disuse conditions. There are strengths and limitations of our studies. This is the first systematic review. There is a high number of bone metabolism related outcome parameters, and there are however, the number of studies is limited. Therefore, also the subjects examined is limited. Moreover, there is a lack of consistent reporting of dietary supplementation, calcium or vitamin D, and it was also not always clearly reported if and how spaceflight related physical activity was conducted or not, or to which extent. The conclusions are the following. The first main conclusion is that bone mineral density in the lumbar spine decreased in space significantly increased bone mineral density in the lumbar spine in space and in bed rest studies. NTX and CTX increased in space and studies, while bisphosphonates significantly decreased NTX and CTX in space and in bed rest studies. In summary, bisphosphonates alleviated bone mass density loss in space and in bed rest studies. It means, in terms of future research activities, that more standardized research methods are needed in space and in bed rest studies, because it was not always standardized what kind of pills they receive, what kind of supplementation the subjects receive, or when the measurement was taken. Moreover, there are concerns related to the safety of bisphosphonates, at least related to other studies, not in our studies. So, therefore, we definitely recommend conducting further safety-related studies. All in all, more studies are needed for optimal prevention and treatment of bone loss in space. Project. I have completed the manuscript, but we are expecting some additional forest plots in order to get the final approval for the manuscript. Our second project is a systematic review and meta-analysis. Here, we would like to investigate how spaceflight or altered gravity levels affect body composition at different time points. This is important because in space, you can lose even 20% of your muscle within short space flights, so even within 5 to 11 days. And if we talk about long-term duration space missions, when they will stay even on the Moon, not to mention Mars, it can go up even to 50% of muscle loss. Obviously, if we talk about space travelers who spend only 10 minutes in space and only in suborbital sphere, then it's a different story. Our aim is to explore the optimal duration of spaceflight concerning the risk factors associated with muscle atrophy and bone loss among space travelers. We agreed on a clinical question: how do spaceflight or altered gravity levels affect body composition at different time points? The framework is a PECO, which means that we will examine studies only with humans, so we won't include any animal studies. They will be always exposed either to spaceflight or altered gravity levels, like bed rest. And we will always compare the results with the baseline figures, and the main outcomes will be body composition related parameters at different time points of the spaceflight or bed rest studies. We hypothesize that body compositions of humans is changing induced by spaceflight or microgravity models. And its clinical implication is that we can better understand the potential risk of malnutrition, bone and muscle loss induced by spaceflight or microgravity models, and we can also learn more about the risk of malnutrition, bone, muscle loss induced by. This is the result of our preliminary research. We have almost 4,000 hits. So in summary, we have two systematic review and meta-analysis as our main goals, and we are planning to complete them by the end of May this year. We choose to go to the Moon not because it's easy, but because